the big theme here is communication and trust. It can solve a lot of problems within your business. It can solve a lot of problems within your family, and it can prevent a lot of problems as well.
When you grow your business and you create this thing, you want to have all the control over it. If you want to grow, you have to start to utilize other people. We want to also help you go through that journey. And so I think that's the big thing that we can provide, is just that relationship factor.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Side by Side Business Podcast. We're Larry and Sue, and we're really excited to have some special guests on with us here today. We have Preston and Katie Powell on with us. So welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
We are so excited to have you guys on. We connected just maybe not even a month ago. We were at a business conference together. Our booths happened to be pretty close to each other, and we got to spend some time visiting with you two. And as a result of that, we discovered, here's a married couple who is in business together. And so we definitely wanted to bring you on the podcast.
And just kind of connected really fast with
Absolutely.
With you.
We did connect very quickly with you guys. So we would love to give you an opportunity to just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do, and about yourselves as a couple.
Sure. So thank you again for having us, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. We did become fast friends, it felt like, spending 3 days back to back nonstop with each other. So I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity. So a little bit about our business. So our business is called Simply Ship, and we are a prep center for Amazon and Walmart sellers. So what that means is we prepare an inventory that is being sent off to Amazon or Walmart, so that way the end user gets that particular product. So that's a little bit about us in that business. We've expanded that business a little bit to include sourcing opportunities where we actually shop for our customers as well. So that way we can provide those extra services. So that's a little bit about our business and really what our goal is, what we've been trying to do. We've been in business for 3 years as Simply Ship, and we are Amazon sellers ourselves, which we've been doing for about 5 years. So the evolution of our business has certainly grown. But us as a couple, do you want to talk about us as a couple, Preston?
Yeah, so we actually, I don't know, my parents know this, I don't think yours do, but we actually met on Tinder back in 2014. So before, I think it got kind of weird. But yeah, I remember vividly you coming, and we went on a date, and I took you to Captain America, which you thought I was like really into Marvel movies.
Yeah, I did. Yes. Yeah.
I wasn't. It was just the highest rated movie that I saw on IMDb that week. And so that was sort of how we picked it out. But yeah, it's been a crazy ride since. We'll be married for 10 years here in October. So really excited for that. And yeah, just to kind of start off, I think we always knew that we wanted something more. Whenever we started our relationship, like Katie was in an insurance, she had an insurance agency at that time, and I was in sales. And I feel like we would go and shop on the weekends and stuff like normal couples do. And it was like, I think there's more to life than just consuming all the time.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how we slowly started our business. I wanted to go to Goodwill one week because I like vintage clothes, and there was a couple of shirts I got, and one I kept, and the other one was like, I think I could sell this. And so I put it up on eBay and made a profit, and I think it was like all downhill after that because Katie was like, oh, we could make a business out of this. And so that's sort of how our relationship grew into the business side of things. And we've been on board ever since to see what we could do with this thing. So
And when he says downhill, he means in regards to our free weekends. Those are no longer available. So
No, I kind of get that. It's like you get that entrepreneurial bug And
Mhm.
it's just like, okay, that was a lot of fun. Let's do this again. And because that's kind of similar to how we got started, we actually, instead of going to Goodwill to get things, we just had so many books
Mm-hmm.
just sitting around the house. And I had a little bit of extra time, and I thought, I'm going to start listing these things on eBay. And yeah, it gets a little bit contagious. It's like, I think I'm going to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, you've got yourself a business. So that's really cool to hear that kind of intro, um, that story of how you got started and everything. So would you say that you both then or are entrepreneurial with your thinking and with just how you kind of live life?
Good question. So I think that I'm a serial entrepreneur is my problem. It's maybe a good problem, maybe a bad problem. Still time to tell for that. But as Preston mentioned, I had an insurance agency when I was quite young, fresh out of college. I owned that insurance agency and learned a lot as a 22-year-old with a insurance agency in charge of $2 million of premium. It was very scary, but very, very good and a great thing for me to learn. And, you know, it's funny, Preston and I could probably count on our hands and our toes, the different types of businesses that I've thought of, and like even went as far as creating an LLC to like see what sticks. So I'm really fortunate that Preston's such a supportive husband in the sense of like, yeah, let's just figure it out. Let's see how far we can take this thing. And we had a cleaning business for a moment. We've tried a few different things where, you know, we just wanted to see what would work. And in regards to the balance, what has really stuck for us is the e-commerce and starting this prep center as well. So I would say I'm very much an entrepreneur spirit, for good, better, and different, I suppose.
Yeah. I think the big thing too is that we'll talk about a lot about this in this podcast, but we try to hold true to our values, right? Like when I met Katie, I was like, I can trust this person for the rest of my life, And so there's a good example of whenever we were just at the point where the insurance business like wasn't going to be our forever thing, and Katie had expressed not necessarily concern, but she wanted change. And so we were in Southern Missouri at that time, where we grew up. We'd never lived anywhere other than Southern Missouri. And she calls me one day, and at this point we have a pretty good life, like we're living in Springfield, Missouri, which is a fun college town. We've got our church, we've got our family super close. And she's like, hey, you want to move to Madison, Wisconsin? And I was like, I guess, like, I trust you, I trust that this is going to work out. And we ended up taking up corporate jobs at that insurance company. Both of us did. And so, but I think that was a big part of it, is just like being able to trust you, and that's how I look at our businesses that we do together, is I trust that you're always going to do the right thing. I think you trust that I'm always going to do the right thing, and that we just bring our best to it together. So.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. It's very exciting to hear you talk about all the iterations that you've gone through. And I think that you've kind of touched on it already, but let me ask the question specifically. With your current business, with is it Ship Now? Simply Ship Now.
Simply Ship.
Get it right.
Yeah, I got to get it right. That's right. You want to get the name right. What is the driver behind that business? What is the reason that you said, oh, this is the one we want to do, at least for now?
Yes, yeah. We were solving a problem. So as the e-commerce space was really kind of exploding for us, and that business was really exploding, we both were just like, we need to outsource to a prep center. And we had a really hard time finding a prep center, unfortunately, especially a prep center that can really specialize and support the retail arbitrage side of things. So, a lot of prep centers are really good for wholesale or someone who does online arbitrage. But whenever it came to someone who could do it retail arbitrage, peel like those sticky price tag stickers off and, prepare the clothes just right, we just couldn't find anyone. And so we were just like, well, we've got a really great community here. Let's see if they can prepare stuff for us. And that's kind of how it all bloomed. Is my sister-in-law started, then a neighbor started for us, and now we've got a team of people that help us prepare things and shop for us. So it really became what problem were we solving, and do other people have this problem? And we found that they do. So that's why we really like to stick to this and support that.
Yeah, I think too, just like, I think some people like that maybe still work at their 9 to 5 job, and they're thinking like, I would just never have time to do all of these things. I think we had to learn that the hard way. Sometimes, unfortunately, I learned through pain and suffering. And I think I was just going crazy. Like I was, sourcing for things during the weekend, and I was bringing it back home, and then trying to peel stickers at night and package things up. And it was just getting to the point I was like, we have to figure something else out, And so we started to outsource, like Katie said. And I think it gave us more time, and our relationship got better. I think sometimes we could get short with each other, sometimes whenever the week gets really crazy with work, and then our other, doing all of the things. And so since we've been able to outsource, I just feel like I'm a better husband. I just have more time available to give to you, just not on the business side of things, but on the relationship side of things. And I think it's just allowed us to, be better together, and run our business better. And so I think if we can provide that service to other people that maybe are struggling with those same things, I think that's the biggest goal that we have for it.
Yeah.
That is really fantastic. I have a side question to that. We had somebody ask us one time, we started working together the first year that we were married. And one of our coworkers said to me, don't you guys ever get a break from each other? And to me, that seemed like such a weird question. I couldn't imagine wanting a break from the guy I had just married, So do you guys ever feel that, or how do you handle it? If there's ever too much togetherness, how do you cope with that?
I think, I don't know, for me, like when Katie has to like travel for work, like I don't like that. I want to be next to her all the time, basically. And so I think for me, I think it's more of like, well, how do I want to say this? Like, I'm bad because I want to talk about like all the cool things that are going on in my head with her during the work hours. And like, she's like, this is work time, And so I think we just we set boundaries. I think we set pretty good boundaries. But I think we also just make it a point to, have that special time together where we like go have date nights, for instance. Like we go to a restaurant, we sit down, we're like, okay, we're going to be a couple right now, not just like business partners essentially. And so I think that's important. But I think also like just the community that we have, I think it's so important to just, have your own groups of people that you hang out with besides your wife. And so I think we do a pretty good job at that. You have a lot of girlfriends, I have a lot of guy friends that we can, go to get different kind of support, because I think having that balance, because if you spend all time together, it can get kind of crazy sometimes.
Yes, that is for sure. Yeah, I think that one thing we talk about quite often is just the blessing that it is that we're best friends, and so I just want to be around him. For the last 10 years of being married, we've been wanting to be around each other all the time, and it is good to have that separation, but in my mind, it's so special to be able to celebrate the wins of like, hey, we just got a new client, and like high five right away, instead of, having that separation where he's doing his own thing, I'm doing my own thing. We really get to celebrate together. And I think it's more meaningful that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just love that there's been a lot of gold that you have just dropped here. And I just kind of highlight just a couple of things here. One of the first things that I want to kind of dig into a little bit further is you talked about that you solved a problem with your business.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're talking here today to entrepreneurs, there are so many ideas that we come up with. And sometimes, like I know for myself, some of the ideas are just really crazy, right? And,
Yes.
and it's just something because maybe it would be fun for me to do, maybe it'd be exciting. And that's all well and good, but if it's not solving a problem that somebody has, then it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So I love how you noticed that there was this problem, and you just decided we can fix this, and we can fix it for ourselves, and we can fix it for other people. And so with that in mind, I want to dig just a little bit deeper into that. What are some of the problems that you fix for your clients? So right now, I know that we probably have some e-commerce sellers who are listening to this,
Sure.
and so just speak to them just for a moment. What are some of the things that you see that you do, maybe that's different from other prep centers, or
Mhm.
maybe it's kind of common to prep centers, but just something that you can do to solve certain problems that maybe they haven't even recognized yet, or they haven't felt that pain quite yet.
Yes. So we can separate this into two different main problems that we really solve for. The first one being sourcing. So a lot of clients of ours and a lot of e-commerce sellers have the idea of like, I know what I want to source, and especially if that's on, retail arbitrage, where someone's physically going to a store and purchasing products. If they're doing that currently, a lot of times their problem is, I can't get enough of this. Like, name whatever it is. Let's say it's a toothpaste or a Lego set. I can't get enough of this in my local area because Walmart is out of it or Ollie's is out of it. Whatever the store is, they don't carry enough for me to purchase. Like, I would buy 1,000 of these if I could. So one problem we solve is we actually do that shopping for those clients. So if someone is a retail arbitrage seller, then we will take their lists and we go shop their lists for them. We also have the ability to provide sourcing recommendations just based off of store availability too. So it's possible that whenever we receive someone's list, we're like, they don't have that, but they have something very similar or in that same category with similar sales ranks, things of that nature. So that's something that we can do. We have a team of shoppers in the Orlando, Florida area. And Orlando, Florida is kind of the mecca of outlet malls and just shopping in general. It's amazing to me. They have like over 200 outlet stores in the Orlando area. And so it's just an incredible place to shop. So I'll use Nike as an example. Nike has very strict limits of 5 SKUs per person, up to 30 units per person. But when you have 5 people that can hit 7 different Nike stores, those limits go away very quickly. So that's the first problem that we solve. And then do you want to talk about the prepping?
Yeah, I also want to just touch on the sourcing too. So I think for me, the one problem that it solved the most was Katie does not like to shop. She'll go with me,
I
but
don't.
like it is very much like I think I get this from my mom, but like, if you know your love language, right? Like Katie's very much like physical touch. I'm very much like giving and receiving of gifts because my mom would take me to the mall when I was a kid, and I was raised an only child, and so she would spoil me and get me like, whatever brand name it was at that time in the 90s. And like that's how we like had time together. And so like for me, I love to shop because of that, I think. But I was still finding that like on the weekends, that's what my life consumed of, was just like going to these outlets, driving 4 hours, all day. It was crazy. And so I think the other big thing, which I continue to tie back, is trust. And so we ended up using like a app that allowed us to like have random people help us out with things. And so at first they would just show up at the outlets with me, and I would be like, okay, here's your stuff. And then it became, well, what if they just did this like on a Monday? And I kind of like guided them on what to do. And so we have the Seller Amp app, and we've trained them on like how to search for things. And it's that continue of trust, of like, okay, I'm going to pay you. You're going to go out into the wild. You're going to find these things for us. And then you're going to put it in our storage unit. And I have to trust that you're not going to steal it from us, and that like everything's going to go off without a hitch. And luckily it has. Like we've never had anybody steal from us. We've never had a situation where the numbers were not correct. And I think that's the big thing too. If you're sitting there watching this today and you're stressed out and you're like, I can't do all of this, or maybe I want to quit, that I think there's things out there that you can do to help alleviate some of those problems, with what we've learned how to do here. So,
Yeah.
and that, I think I'll let you talk more about the prepping as well here.
Sure. So the sourcing problem that is something that's very unique to Simply Ship. We saw that as a great need, but then the thing that's more in line with traditional prep centers is truly prepping the product. So we have the product that we take, we prepare it based off of either Amazon or Walmart standards, and then we send that to the Amazon or Walmart fulfillment center. So we do that on behalf of our clients, and we absolutely love it. We got started by helping our friends, and then it just kind of grew into, hey, I know someone else who could use your services. And I was actually talking to a client today, and I was just like, I feel like we're friends at this point, right? Like we talk to each other quite a bit, and we've built that rapport. So it's been really fun. So in regards to problem solving, sourcing, and then also shipping for our customers is what we're able to provide.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. And so I think for anybody who's watching or listening, that you just think about, what are the things that frustrate me? What are the things that are driving me crazy? And how can I solve that? And then maybe you can solve that for other people as well.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that you had talked about earlier was you used the word boundaries. And that is so crucial whenever you're a married couple working together. So I'd like to lean into that a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
So can you talk about, how did you come up, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of those boundaries? You kind of mentioned like, okay, it's date night, no business talk. But what are some of the boundaries that you have, and how did you come up with those?
I think probably just getting on each other's nerves a little bit, to be completely honest. Like, I think we do things until, like, I don't know, for me at least, I think I probably will just start talking to you about the most random things. But I know that if we are, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Katie's door is shut to her office because she's getting things done. And I know that I can't talk to her during that time, And so, and I think even at night, you will sit on the couch and watch TV and zone out, and I'll watch shows in the bedroom. We know that we just need some time apart from each other. So I think it's just trial and error really of seeing what works and what doesn't work, and just being respectful to that, to know that I'm not going to barge in on you during these 2 hours because I respect your time, And so I think it's a respect thing. I think as you grow as a couple and as a business, you kind of just learn what works for you. And I think the key to that is just, good communication, right? I think that's one of the biggest blessings that I would say that having a business together has given us, is if you want a, kind of superficial marriage that you go to work and then you come back home and you see each other and you celebrate the good stuff and then you fight it out whenever it's the bad stuff. You don't have that luxury being business owners together. There's no, fighting it out and not talking to each other, because you have to continue moving on, And so I feel if you don't figure that out, if you don't have those good communication skills, it's just going to cause you to not be successful. And so I would say, but that I would say also is the biggest blessing, because we've just have such a deeper relationship because of that.
Yeah.
So
I think my motto for 2025 is know thyself. And so because I know that from 8 to 10, I'm pretty much useless and dead to the world, except for the tasks that I'm working on. And I was able to communicate that with Preston of hey, I need to have that time so that way I can focus. And knowing thyself has allowed me to have a better relationship with Preston because I know myself better in that way. So I think that's something that has also just been super helpful and really, really special for us too. So yeah, I think in regards to like other boundaries being set, it's so true in regards to like we need to just communicate what that is with each other, and communication is key on all of that.
I think there was one point where we almost were feeling too much like business partners and not like a husband and a wife. And Katie expressed like, "Hey, I need you to hug me more because like I'm not getting that right now, and that's important to me. Like we're not just a business together, like we're husband and wife, you know." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, yeah, like I need to be more like physical touch affection, you know." And so I think that's important too, just to recognize that it's just there's so much to it, you know. And so if you're not again having that good communication, then it's just not going to work. So
And the last thing I'll say on this is having shared goals, which is what we have as business owners, right? As we want to drive our business forward, we want to achieve X, Y, Z. And I think whenever we get frustrated with each other and we just take a step back, pause, and say, we're in this together, like we have the same goal, and so why is there this conflict of whatever it is, and no matter how minimal or maximize that conflict is we're really on the same page and have the same goal.
Yeah, that is excellent. I love you've mentioned it several times, communication, which we talk about connection all the time, and communication is absolutely an important conduit to that connection as a couple. Even as a business partner, you've talked about relationships that you have with each other, and then out in your business with your clients and with your team members and things like that. All of those things are key. Business is really all about relationships. And you've shared some of the things that you have worked your way into. So I wonder, is there anything that you look back on when you first got started in business together that you think, I wish we would have known this at the beginning because it would have made X so much easier? Is there anything like that you can think of?
so many things.
There's so many things. How much time do you have? You know, with anything, we have adapted the phrase our tuition in the School of Hard Knocks. And so we we are very fortunate to have college educations, but we are also like, there is some just hard knock things that you just don't learn until you pay that price. And so you know, I think that's without listing every single thing, I think the root of a lot of it comes from just knowledge of that particular thing, knowledge and focus. So I would maybe, if I could go back and tell my younger self of, hey, if you can just focus on maybe one or two things instead of 10 things, then that could be really fruitful for you. So I think that would probably be the one thing of like the common theme is if I didn't focus and if I didn't have a clear understanding, those are some of the things that have gone awry, I would say.
Yeah. I think some of it, like you said, like there could be, like at one point we thought we were going to go into real estate, you know, and then we invest all this money and then interest rates go up, and that's like the flips are now rental properties, you know, and that's just something that we're going to have to deal with for the next 30 years or whatever, or until interest rates go back down, you know, hopefully. So I think it's just, I think that is the one thing that with any business, I think you'll get to a point where it's almost like you sink or swim in a way. And I think we've actually had that happen in this last year, probably, that we had to really sit down and say, you know, okay, are we a profitable business? You know, are we truly a profitable business? You know, is it not just like, are we selling things? Is the money coming in, but like, are we actually profitable? And I think our focus has gotten more just very laser focused on prepping and sourcing than it probably has ever before this year, just because of absolute necessity. And then if you're watching this and you haven't gotten there yet, you probably will. And so I think that's almost like a crossroads that we've probably been at. I don't know if you want to touch on that more.
Well, yeah, and to be clear, so one thing Preston's talking about is we also are Amazon sellers ourselves, and so that's where we kind of had to have that come to Jesus moment of like, where are we at, right? With all of this, we have all this capital out there, but then we've got the prep center, and I think that's what's forced us to just say like, no, we really need to drive forward and double down on our prep center. So
Yeah, very good. So I kind of think we're kind of winding down a little bit here. We still got a couple of questions we want to ask you, but I don't want to fail to get to this. If somebody is watching or listening here and they want to reach out to you, maybe it's for the prep center services, the sourcing services. Maybe it's just because they think you're really cool and they want to reach out and become friends. How would they get a hold of you?
sure, thank you for that. So you can find us on Instagram. We are Simply Ship Now. That's our handle on Instagram. And then you can find us on our website, simplyshipnow.com.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Good
There you
deal.
go.
Good deal. Okay, so thinking about our listeners, and we would love to ask you for what is one thing, one recommendation that you might have to help our listeners in their business and or their family life, or maybe it's balancing the two. Kind of want to let you pick which way you want to go with that. But what would you see as maybe a top priority or a top thing that people can do in order to bring the thing into their life that they want?
So I'll give a thought that I've been sitting with for a couple of years now. And ever since I heard it, I just keep going back to it. And it's a mindset of who do I need to become? So we all have goals, whether that's to be the best wife or the best friend, the best daughter, mother, like whatever it is, maybe the best business owner. Who do I need to become in order to be that person? So if I want to have our prep center have 100 clients, who do I need to become as a business owner to have 100 clients? I need to become someone who can delegate. I need to become someone who can outsource. I need to have clear communication skills. So, whatever goal it is that you have, whether it's in your business or personal, ask that question of what qualities does that person have? And how can I sharpen my skill set to become that person? So that's something that I always try to think about is like, and it's hard, right? Because you're not there yet. So it's hard to be like, well, I don't need to delegate because I don't have 100 clients, so, but when I do, I'm going to need to delegate a lot of things. So, I think that's the number one question that I always ask myself is who do I need to become?
I would say to that too, just be ready for change, right? And be able to just trust other people than yourself. I think that's a big one for me. I, if it wasn't for Katie, I think the first like week we met, I had a late shift. So I did customer service for Best Buy, right? So if you had like a problem with Best Buy, you would call me and I would like help you with your problem. And I would work from like 3 in the afternoon to like 11 at night. It was a terrible like graveyard shift. And if I wanted to hang out with Katie though, best believe I better be up at 7 a.m., And so it was from the very beginning. It's like you're going to have change and you have to be okay with that. And so I think that's a big aspect of like our success is like just being open to change and just being able to trust other people. And I think that's something we've really succeeded at, especially in the last year here since we've started a business.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So, all right. So then I think this will be our final question then.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been talking for a little while here, and like I said, you guys have dropped some gold and some really good information and such. But is there one takeaway that you could think of, one reason why somebody should listen to this episode? Something that they will glean or get from this episode. What do you think the major thing is there?
I think the big theme here is communication and trust is something that can solve a lot of problems. It can solve a lot of problems within your business. It can solve a lot of problems within your family. And it can prevent a lot of problems as well as having that communication and trust. So I think that's really the overarching theme.
Absolutely.
All right. Preston, you're good with that?
I'm good with that. Yeah, no, I like it. I think the biggest thing, is, and I'm not trying to like completely sell the audience on using us or anything along those lines, but I think that's the big thing that we want to provide people, because we didn't receive that. Whenever we reached out to prep centers, like we would never get a call back, or they would be like, you need to send me 5,000 units or I'm not going to use you. And so I think that's the big thing for us, is like, it's like we're just a small town, like prep center, essentially, like a mom and pop shop, essentially, And so I think that's the big thing. And I think that is probably the hardest thing too, is, when you grow your business and you create this thing, you want to have all the control over it, right? But at some point, you're going to get to where if you want to grow, you have to start to utilize other people. And so I think just for us going through that journey, we want to also help you go through that journey. And so, yeah, like Katie said, she gave you, our Instagram and our website. But even if you just want to be a friend in this crazy game of life, we would love to talk to you and just get to know you better. And I think that's the big thing that we can provide, is just that relationship factor. So,
Well, and I can definitely testify that you guys it's easy to become fast friends with you.
We feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on with us. We really appreciate you taking of your time here, and just for sharing, what you've learned over these 10 years and then the last 5 years of having your business. So thanks a lot for being on with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys.
All right. And for those of you who are listening or watching, we appreciate you joining here today. So we hope that you take the information that you learned here in this episode and go build your dream business.
Side by side. See ya.
Take care.